Hey guys, it's Kate, and I hope you're having a great day. I'm back with another journal page, and I have kind of an idea what I want to do, but we're going to kind of explore together a little bit with our page. So I'm going to be working with these two colors to start off with. I have this Crafters Collection Grape and Deco Art Joyful Pink. And I think these will look pretty nice together on the page. So what my plan is, and I've got my edges taped, but an ungessoed page right now. But what I'm going to do to start off with is make a line, a sort of wavy line that kind of goes up diagonally. And my plan is to make a leaf, a stem with leaves along this and maybe down toward the other side. But along this line, I'm going to be doing my two colors. So I'm going to do a two-tone page to start, and I kind of like the way that line flows. So I'm going to stay with that, and I'm just going to pick a color for each side. So on the bottom, I'm going to do this grape color. And I'm just going to follow that pencil line and fill in the page here at the bottom. And what I plan on doing, and something you might consider, is if you do this same design and you're going to do, something over the top of these two layers, something you might consider is if you're going to do a light colored or dark colored sort of motif on top, you might want to consider that contrast. So both of these are pretty decently dark colors, and so I'm planning on making much lighter leaves when I go over the top. And I also really like having these brush strokes here, so I'm not really concerned with getting a really solid look on my paint, but I do want to have a nice hard line here. And then I'm just going to kind of make my paint strokes go with the flow with the rest of this. Just like this. And we'll have some texture and a little bit of that white page kind of coming back through. And I'll make sure to get a decent layer of paint on here. But I do like having that texture. All right, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, I've got my brush all rinsed, and I'm going to go in with this pink. And I'm going to start at the outside edge for this side, just to give this a little bit more of a chance to dry before I kind of bring the two layers together. So I'm just starting here first and doing the same thing. So we'll get ourselves a two-toned journal page, and I'm getting my edges and kind of going over those again, but just letting the color kind of fall on the page. And now I'm starting to get closer to my edge. So I'm going to choose an angle that's easy for me. For me, it's easier to pull away. So I'm going to load up my brush again, get some good color on it, and then go right along the edge of this purple. And if there's a slight overlap, it's not a huge deal. I just want to make sure that I don't have white space. Now, once I get that sort of first area kind of cut in, I can smooth it out with my brush. So now I'm going to go back over this and just continue along. You can grab more paint as much as you need. Just like that. So now I'm just going to go over the rest of this. Make sure I got a good layer, that my paint strokes are in the direction I want them. I'm going to leave this to dry. Okay, I'm back, and I grabbed this little spiral stencil because it makes kind of a nice pattern. And what I'm going to do is cover my whole sheet, and I'm going to use opposite colors on each side and just add a little bit of additional texture. So on this top spot, I'm going to dip into this purple color, and I'm going to dip into it pretty lightly. I want a hint of a pattern, but I don't want it to take over the whole thing, especially since I'm going to be doing some leaves and stuff over it. So I'm just going to kind of rub this in a little bit, and I'm going to be pretty aware, careful, I guess, of my edges here. So I'm going to, sort of push this in to the edges, but not go over too much, although I guess it doesn't really matter because I'm using the same color. But I have some little pink on the back here that's still damp from my last page that I worked on just a little bit ago. So I'm just going to keep going through here, adding some of this, keeping it fairly light, but we'll have a bit of a pattern. And that looks pretty good. I'm going to work on up here just a little bit. So I'm going to put it right over where I was and just center it as well as I can. And then go over this top part that didn't really get color. And I'm just really kind of squishing it in there, making sure it's got a good coat. And that looks better to me. So I'm going to put this back on, and I don't have to be quite as careful this time because I'm going to be working on the other side. So I'm going to grab another spot on this sponge and start doing the same thing with the pink on this side. And so I'm just going to work my way down and get that pattern on there. I'm sort of like rubbing it a bit, kind of squishing it in, but I do not have a lot of paint on my stencil. Or on my sponge. So I'm just going through just gently and getting some of that paint in through the stencil. And I'm still keeping aware of my edge. Now that pink is kind of mixing in a little bit here too, like that lighter pink that I had on the back. So it may be a little bit of a two-tone, which I'm actually okay with. I'm curious what it'll look like when I pull up the stencil, but that should be pretty neat. Maybe a little bit of an ombre effect. And yeah, it's got a little bit of that. I like how that looks. Okay, I'm back and we are dry. I grabbed two more colors. I've got Sunshine Yellow. This is a Hobby Lobby craft paint. And I've got Delta Ceram Coat Lime. And I'm going to start with my yellow. So since I have kind of a dark to mid-tone background, I'm going to go really bright for my foliage. So I'm going to start with yellow and get a nice bright base on, and then I am going to go over it again with the green to really get that, I don't know, a nice two-tone leafy texture with some green in it. So I'm going to start here. I've got my angle brush, and I'm going to load it up pretty good. And I might even add just a hint of water to thin it out a bit, but I might need to dip semi-frequently. So what I'm going to do is start pulling this down toward me and make a stem right along this line that I made originally, just like that. And I can add a little bit more here and just get it to be nice and solid. So now we've got that brightness coming in here. Now what I'm also going to do is have some other leaves coming up through here. So I'm going to put a lot of leaves on this side. So I'm going to maybe have one sprig come up here, just like that. And then maybe one kind of curling up this way and joining the branch here. And so that will be our leaf sort of shape angle. So next I'm going to start putting in some leaves here. And I'm going to go on both sides for this one. And I'm going to kind of alternate them along this stem. Just like that. Now don't forget, I'm going to also be coming back in with the greens, but I'm just getting those bright shapes in there to start with. And I'm just following the direction of my stems, getting these in here, and then don't forget the top of your page. So I'm going to have one kind of coming in like it's going to kind of go right off the page there. So now I'm going to add another one right here, I think. Just like that. One right here. And I'm being pretty liberal with my paint, but I also am kind of embracing the brush strokes. Don't really mind having, you know, the little tiny gaps in there. That's fine with me. And then I'll continue right down here to the end. Now you can, if you're not really sure where you want your layout to be, you can go over it with pencil first and then just kind of fill in where it seems right. I'm going to make a little tip coming up here, just like that. So we'll have maybe a bigger leaf coming here and a little tip that's coming up into the paper. And I think that looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do is grab that yellow again, go over a couple of these that are kind of light or kind of dark still, and just add a little bit of a second coat to really brighten it up, because it's starting to dry up at this end, so I can definitely add more paint. Now, depending on your paint, you might not need a second coat, but sometimes these brighter colors just aren't quite so opaque. And that's okay. And you might like the transparency if it is transparent. Totally up to you. And then lastly, I'm going to add another little stroke here to that center stem. I don't really like how this looks, so I'm going to go over it again and just kind of fix up that shape there. So next I'm going to go into this green. It's a nice bright lime green, and I'm going to squeeze out just a little tiny bit. I actually overdid it with the yellow, so I'm going to squeeze out just a tiny bit, and I'm going to dip into this and just add some green to this yellow, just to give it a secondary color. I've got my bright base. Now I can start adding an actual foliage color, and you could probably do green too, but I really like having that bit of a two-tone look to the leaves, and it gives them a little bit more visual interest, I think. But that's just a personal preference. And I'm going to maybe do like one side of each one green or something like that. And I really like how that looks. And I'm going to fix this point up a bit too. There. I'm kind of traveling all over my page, so it's hard for me to tell what I got and what I didn't get yet. But, oh, I think I missed just one leaf right here. Just like that. Okay, so these sentiments that I got on Temu, I've been wanting to use them more often, and they come in both black and white. And when I was working on this journal, I kind of looked over and I saw this sentiment that said, look on the bright side. And I actually had planned on using a different one, but if I'm looking at this, that side, this is the bright side. And so I think that using white on here will be really nice, and it really fits well with the journal page. So I'm actually going to pull that sentiment off and put it right here. And then we will look on the bright side. And I think we can call this a done journal page. So I'm going to take my tape off gently so that we can see our nice borders. And then I'll give you the close-up. I'm just trying to peel carefully so that I don't rip anything or pull back paint. And usually that doesn't happen, but that happened on my last journal page, and now it made me gun shy. Oh, I love this. I think this looks great. And it's such a simple page. So let me give you the close-up so you can see all the colors and texture. And this was only a couple of layers. It's a very simple and fun journal page to make. So I hope you enjoyed following along with me in this video. And I hope you grab your paints, whatever you have on hand, and try it yourself. And I hope to hear in the comments below if you enjoyed doing this. So until next time, keep creating. Bye.